Today we're going to be talking about Critical Role. Okay, so Critical Role is something that we haven't delved into before, and honestly, I don't know if we all will in depth. I've watched the complete season 2. I'm up to date on season 3. I haven't watched very much of season 1. I have watched the Vox Machina animated series. Bob has never watched much of anything.
I've watched the Vox Machina, but Chad tried to convince me to watch the live action, and I don't know, maybe I had a bad episode, maybe I was tired, but I'm not entirely certain it's for me. Chad, however, I believe has watched a substantial part of it. I just don't know what.
Right, so moving forward, you'll see some videos in this series with just me, some with Chad and I, some with all three of us. The roles are kind of flipped. Mostly in the videos that we do, Bobby's the expert, Chad is very learned, and I don't know my butt from a hole in the ground. This is a little bit different, whereas I consider myself an expert in the space of us three. Chad very learned, and Bobby doesn't know his butt from a hole in the ground because he's just not interested, which is fine. But the point being is our schedules often conflict, and it's hard for us all three to get together all the time. So you've seen some videos with just Bobby. You've seen some videos with Bobby and Chad. You've seen some videos with me and Bobby. Now you'll see some videos with just me. Because there are times during the day when I have some downtime, and it wouldn't be anything at all for me to flip on a video and start talking about Critical Role for a while. Also, I'm sure that in moving forward, there will be other things that I talk about when it's just me. But right now, we're going to start with Critical Role. So first of all, I don't gain. So Bobby said maybe he saw a bad episode, whatever, and it just wasn't for him. Watching the live action play, watch somebody else play the game. And for me, if I would have stumbled along that in the beginning, I would have, clicked on ooh, Dungeons and Dragons, and then been like, this is watching other people play games. Which we know Twitch is full of people watching people play games now, whether it be Fortnite or NBA 2K or whatever it is. But I happened along Critical Role differently than a lot of people, I think. It was last summer, maybe in August or July of last summer, being 2021. And I first found a panel at a Comic-Con or some con somewhere that had the cast of Critical Role up on a panel, answering questions from the audience or whatever they were doing. And honestly, I just liked the people. And then I saw more of those. I saw some of their Vox Machina thing, which was the after show kind of talk show that they would have once a week or once every 2 weeks or however often it was, and they would talk about the episodes. They would spend whatever it was, a half hour, an hour, talking about the 3 or 4 hour episode or 2 of those episodes or however it broke down. And then there was Between the Sheets. Both Between the Sheets and Vox Machina were hosted by Brian Foster. COVID brain. Brian Foster, who is married to Ashley Johnson, who is a cast member of Critical Role. You've also seen her in Hollywood productions, like back in the day, she was the new girl on what was the name of that show with Alan Thicke and Mike Cameron? It was about their little family. I think maybe it was Leonardo DiCaprio's first role too. Was in that. It's not Family Matters. It's not Family Ties.
No. I can picture Alan Thicke, and so I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about. But blanking on the show.
Regardless, she was a very young child actor in that towards the end of the series. And most recently, she did several seasons, every season, of a 1 hour drama serial show on, I believe it was NBC, called Blind Spot. She played the kind of forensic chick. She even referenced the Dungeons and Dragons in one of the shows, whereas I can't remember whether there was some clue they were chasing down that was Dungeons and Dragons or something, but one of the people that she worked with referenced her being an elven wizard, and she says, "Well, actually, I'm a gnome cleric." And she says that in the show, and on Critical Role and Vox Machina season 1, she was indeed a gnome cleric. So that's just, I thought, cool. So then there's other people in there too, but the important takeaway from this is I kind of fell in love with the people. There's some friends. There's 7 of them, plus the game master Matt Mercer being the 8th, who they also have guests in a lot. But the core group is 7 cast members and the dungeon master, and they were all voice actors. So they've all been classically trained in acting, whether it be from acting school or theater school or whatever. They've all done all of the improv classes. They're professional actors, which is where I think a lot of people get it twisted. They refer to it as the Matt Mercer effect, it being where people watch that and then they come to a home game and they're let down because it's not as immersive as what they make it. Well, they are professional actors. Their goal is to do this. They've also been playing, it's 3 different campaigns, but they've been playing pretty much continuously, 3 different campaigns and a whole bunch of one-offs and short series, but they've pretty much been playing solidly for a decade or more. I think they played 2 or 3 years before they even started streaming. But so they're all professionals at what they do, and so they're going to do it better than us. They may not play the game better than us, although there's some very creative people, but they're just very good at their job. And in this instance, their job is to build a great narrative based around Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Now, whether or not you like watching people play games, then I totally understand. If you never want to watch Critical Role, then I'm not trying to suggest that you do. But the point is, I do. And there's a lot of you out there that do too. So I'm going to make some videos that we'll talk about things like the Matt Mercer effect. We'll talk about some of the individual cast members who are Emmy Award winners in their fields, directing and voice acting. And so, for instance, Ashley Johnson, besides the film credits that I stated earlier, she's also the main character in, I believe, The Last of Us video game. Laura Bailey has a couple different awards for different video games that she's been on. Matt Mercer was, I can't remember the name of I don't play the video games, so I can't remember the names of the people. Anyways, they're all very, very talented people. They're all award-winning people. They all direct. They all produce. They all act. And I like the product that they put out. Like I said, there's all kinds of things we'll talk about, even about how they may be ruining Dungeons & Dragons because of the Matt Mercer effect, about how Matt Mercer doesn't always follow the rules as they're written, which, by the way, he has every right to do that. He is the dungeon master of his own game. He can do what the hell ever he wants. That is the stance that you take, Leslie, right, Bob?
Yes, with the caveat that if it's going to be some major deviation, like, and I know the players are expecting one thing, like, I'm not just going to, like, throw out that, oh, by the way, 20 isn't a critical hit. I'm not going to...
Oh, right.
Yeah.
No, it's just like sometimes in-game play, he may make a decision to ignore a condition or
Yeah,
whatever.
stuff like that. That's all within the Dungeon Master's purview because he knows what's going on and the players don't.
And he's trying to build a narrative at home, even, but especially in this deal here. I mean, they're making a product for our consumption, so they are going to make decisions based on what they feel like provides the best narrative, and I encourage that.
So, are you just going to be talking about Critical Role, or are you also going to be talking about like Joe
Manganiello.
Manganiello?
Well, he's been on Critical Role.
Right, but he also has his own show, as I understand it.
I don't know about that.
He's got something going on.
I would watch that too, probably, because there's some cool people who plays at his home game, like the two showrunners from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'll look into it and get you the information if it's on everything. I think it is.
Tom Morello, the lead guitar player from Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
I mean, he has some really cool players that played at his home game. What's the big wrestler dude?
Big Show.
The Big Show, right?
Yeah, because I know because WizKids has made a set of miniatures from what I'm assuming is his home game.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I do know that a lot of what he's doing is being incorporated into Wizards of the Coast canon. Specifically, like the thing that he did on Critical Role was they were fighting Vecna. And I don't want to give any spoilers, but he didn't. It was amazing narrative. It was amazing TV, and it was so good that he got together with Chris Perkins, and they made a whole thing of it, which is something. I can't remember the name of the adventure. Return to Iverness, or
Yeah, I couldn't say off the top of my head.
but it's about after that, after he steals the hand of Vecna, chops his own hand off. Oh, I'm telling you, spoilers. Anyways, it's in the canon now, and it's maybe even made an adventure book. There's definitely some like Dragonlance stuff going on with them.
Yes, as a further spoiler, the most recent Dragonlance novel, there is a scene in a Mageware shop where a character claims to have the hand of Vecna, and specifically mentions his character.
I can't remember.
Starts with an A. Can't think of it. But yeah, he specifically mentions it. And,
He's an Oathbreaker Paladin, Dragonborn, follower of Tiamat. But I can't remember.
So it's ingrained enough that it's a throwaway line in a Dragonlance novel at this point. So
yeah. So and if you don't know,
Arcan the Cruel.
Arcan the Cruel. Yeah. Arcan. Yeah. And if you didn't know, Joe Manganiello is an actor. He was in the Magic Mike movies. He was the tall Italian dude.
So True Blood is one of the werewolves.
He's married to Sofia Vergara.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but he's on the off chance anyone thinks some of these people are like quote unquote fake fans. He appears to be the genuine article in everything.
Oh yeah, look it up. Check out his basement that his wife was going to turn into a exercise studio, and he says, "Thank you. No, this is a dungeon dedicated to Gary. It's the Gary Gygax Memorial Dungeon, I believe, is what it is."
Yeah, like I've got a gigantic D&D art book, and he's was one of the main drivers of getting that made, and he's got a lot of comments in the book,
and he's friends with Hickman and Weiss, and
yeah,
he's the real deal from way back.
Yeah, he's the blurb on the back of the new Dragonlance novel is written by him, so.
Yeah, so he's real, and so there's those people out there, those actors in Hollywood that are the real deal people like that, like
Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard, who we were able to meet at Gen Con this year. He was very nice to me, by the way. I don't know if I said that in the video, but he was very busy, sweating. He was back behind the booth selling the T-shirts. I'll take this, and he'd run back and get it out of a box and bring it up to people. He was sweating, and he was working hard.
Yeah.
But he took the time to talk to me a little bit, and he was very, very nice. But he's all about it too. He's been playing forever. Him and his friends. He was there with his company Beatles and Grimm, and they were there selling their products. So those things happen, and we will talk about those things. I don't think I'll do it. I think this is just Critical Role.
Okay.
And then I'll happily do other playlists with whatever content people want, or whatever you want to hear about, whatever I can think of, whatever. But
yeah, I just didn't know if it was going to focus specifically on Critical Role, or if this is going to be mainly focused on Critical Role, but also talking about some of the other streaming shows.
No, I think
Inside
this
the
is
Network.
just Critical Role, and then I'll do another one that is peripheral to that.
Okay.
The Roll 20, or not Roll 20. Is it Roll 20? Is that the tabletop?
That's the tabletop.
Dimension 20. Dimension 20. All the things that Abria Iyengar and Brendan Mulligan?
You're asking the wrong person.
I don't know. There's the kind of set of celebrity game masters right now. The Brendan Mulligan, the Brendan Lee Mulligan, the Bria Iyengar, Deborah Ann Wall is another actress who is all about it. I've seen her in all kinds of different.
She was also on True Blood.
I haven't watched True Blood.
You should. It's okay. I say that it's a decent show. It gets a reputation because it's on HBO, and there's a whole lot of
Gratuitous nudity and sex.
nudity and sex, and having not read the
Bob,
books,
you said that like it was a bad thing.
having not read the books or anything, I have no idea how accurate that is.
See, I don't know either, but I just always kind of looked at it kind of like the Twilight things, kind of like teen stuff, but it's not that, I guess. It's not. I mean, maybe it started out that way, but it's not anymore.
I mean, could have been. I only watched one of the Twilight movies, which was the fourth one at the midnight. Fifth one, the last one, midnight show. Some people were going. I had nothing better to do. It was actually kind of funny because as an outsider, having not watched the other movies, whenever like Jacob the werewolf would take off his shirt, like there was actually more laughter than anything else in the crowd. Like I think even the fans were kind of like, all right, fine. Like
we see Tyler Lautner's chest enough.
Like there's a real plot to get to here. Like let's get going. And
but in True Blood, they were able to work the plot into the sex scenes.
Kind of.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, at the very worst, we got Joe Manganiello and Deborah Ann Wall, and so it can't be all bad.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I thought the show was decent. The parts that I watched, which was about the first 2 or 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, after that, just about anything gets kind of derivative in there. You can tell they're searching for things.
And she was also in some of Marvel's shows that were on Netflix, Daredevil and The Punisher,
I didn't
where
know
she
that.
plays Karen Page, who's Daredevil's secretary kind of person, and
Administrative assistant.
kind of develops a deal like not so much a friendship, but like we're on the level with her and the Punisher because, minor spoiler, like to get out of a situation, she definitely shoots one dude in the face, and so like
She seems so nice.
She gets where Frank Castle's coming from on this whole like, yeah, some of these guys got to get shot.
She seems so nice, though.
Yeah, like I saw her on
She-
one of the streams for Dwarven Forge one night, and yeah, she seemed nice and she seemed on it.
Yeah. Oh, she knows her stuff. Yeah, she game masters. I mean,
Yeah,
she runs her own games.
Which was hilarious because she was talking about theater of the mind, and she's literally going on for like a good 10 minutes explaining how like she builds the whole thing in her head,
And then pulls out her Dwarven Forge 3D.
and no. Then she gets to the end, she's like, and I think it was Chris was like, well, yeah, like that's awesome. Like, thank you for explaining to our customers how they don't need to buy any of our products. And she's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. They're like, no, it was cool, don't worry.
Side note, she was also on an episode, at least one episode of Critical Role. She played a little, I think she was a gnome and maybe like a rogue or something. I don't remember. But I think her name was Twiggy. Regardless, it was kind of a funny episode. So anyhow, playlists on this channel about Critical Role. And I'll just start at the beginning of my beginning and I'll work forward. I don't think that I will do season 1 or whatever, campaign 1 with the Vox Machina, simply because I haven't watched it yet, and my knowledge of it is only based on, you watch the videos that has like Scanlan's funniest moments or Sam Riegel's funniest moments or whatever. I've seen those. I've seen all the Vox Machina animated series. I've seen all of the behind the scenes stuff run up to that. So I have a working knowledge of that season, but I don't feel like my knowledge base in that is as extensive as it should be for me to be talking about it with any sort of
authority.
That's the one. Whereas the Mighty Nine, I watched from get to go, not in real time. I went back and watched them, and or listen to them on podcasts as I do a lot of driving, and I listen to podcasts a lot while I'm driving or audiobooks. But yeah, so the beautiful part about watching those, so you can watch them live as they stream on Thursday nights on Twitch. Also, they show them live on YouTube now as they're going. That's on Thursdays. On Mondays, they come out on VOD on YouTube, and on Thursday night, they'll film a new one. Or at least they release a new one. I think they film everything ahead of time now, as opposed to like they usually do. The following Monday, VOD on YouTube. That Thursday morning's released. The previous Thursday's episode was released onto podcasts on your whatever podcast outlet you're looking for, and then later on that night they'll do another one. The beautiful thing about the VOD is you can kind of fast forward through the parts that I think that you would find boring. You know what I mean? But until you know them, the people, the cast, and then know their characters through them, it's hard to get that right without missing some cool things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So are you going to focus exclusively like working your way up through them, or are you going to like do like alternate, like here's what I have watched, and then like possibly later in the week, like, but here's this week's episode, my comments on it?
No. Okay, so yes, to some extent. So I don't know about alternate, but concurrently in this playlist will run my thoughts on whatever the new episode is.
Okay.
Like tonight is the last Thursday of the month, so they won't be having one. They won't be airing an episode tonight. This campaign, they started taking the last Thursday of the month off because they're running their own company now and they got families and things to do.
Yeah.
So there won't be one tonight. So the first one that I do will probably be just another video, kind of like this one, talking about how I got into it, why I like it, and talking about some of the things that people may have problems with, perhaps, and the reasons why I don't think those are problems, or maybe I do think it's a problem. Which, spoiler, there are some things that I think are problems, and some things that I think other people think are problems that I do not. But regardless,
I wouldn't know either way.
So
I look forward to watching these.
So we won't alternate, but we will do like something like that, and then as a new video comes out, a new campaign session episode.
I would assume, yeah,
session.
Episode.
Yeah. As soon as a new one comes out, then as soon as sometimes I have a chance to watch those on Thursday night, sometimes I don't. Honestly, most of the time I try not to do that because there is no jumping around. They're just there at whatever timeline they're on. I much prefer to watch them on Mondays if I can, when they come out, so that way I can I can go back if I think I missed something, whatever, I can work through it.
Yeah.
It's on demand. It's more better for me. But I do watch them sometimes on Thursday nights. But still, I probably won't put out a video on it until I can watch it again on the Monday when I can do the rewinding and make notes and have a coherent outline to talk about whenever we're talking about.
Yeah. No shooting from the hip.
I shoot from the hip often, and I will continue to do so. But I will also have an outline. So there's that, and then sometimes I'll get you and Chad involved when possible. Chad as much as he wants to be whenever I'm not just doing one because I'm sitting in a van somewhere waiting on somebody. And then I will try to get all of you involved on like the meta discussions about it. Like there's no reason for you to be involved in individual discussions about individual episodes. But there is all kinds of reasons to have you in on the meta discussions.
So, like, if we were to randomly make an episode about the Matt Mercer effect,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's not something. I'm not saying that I won't do a video on that, but it'll be a video that would kind of tease a larger video
yeah,
that you were involved in.
yeah. I just meant that that's as a meta concept, you know.
Yeah, but that's what I mean for a micro concept inside that meta concept. Just I'm if there's a subject that I think would be interesting to have you a part of, or that you would be interested in being a part of, then I will kind of tease that and talk a little bit about it, and then say, okay, now here in a couple days we're going to go dive into Bob's brain about this,
Okay.
and hopefully Chad, because Chad, if you've been watching any of the BattleTech videos, you know that Chad has his own wealth of knowledge available on things, and he has no lesser knowledge about D&D that he does about BattleTech, I wouldn't think.
Yeah. Chad, definitely, like, in case I haven't spelled it out in the other videos, has far more experience as a player than I do. Like, bar none, for sure. DMing, I think I have overtaken his experience, but I'm not 100% certain on that. Although I've DM'd multiple systems, so for better, for worse.
I've only DM'd the AD&D, and that was for 14 and 15-year-old kids.
Yeah. So, but yes, Chad is quite knowledgeable on the D&D, and when we're playing and I'm DMing, I actually, like, when it comes down to a rules question, because I have not read the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide backward and forward, I mainly looked for what were the differences between this and 3.5, and so whenever we do come to a scenario that I don't know the answer to, I usually do point to Chad real quick for a shoot from the hip answer from him.
I've seen it.
So yeah, no, he's knowledgeable.
And also, he I don't know how much of the Critical Role he's watched, but he is knowledgeable about its infrastructure and things. So, yeah, that's going to be a thing now. Not just the Critical Role, but the me doing videos on my own, because sometimes it's hard for me to get here. And I mean, there might be 2 or 3 weeks in a row where me and Bob plan to get together 2 or 3 times a week, and my job or his girlfriend or something gets in the way of that. My job much more often than his girlfriend, by the way. And by that I mean it's mostly my fault and not Bob's. So there's that. But you will be seeing it. It will be here. And hopefully, one of the reasons I want to do this is not only that so that I can contribute to this channel, hopefully, more than I have been in the last couple months, but also because if you are watching this because you like Critical Role, please go look at some of our other videos. Even if you don't know about BattleTech, I guarantee you that watching Bobby talk about it is interesting. And I don't know that I would ever thought that about some things, a couple years ago. But it really is. I mean, you can just, hey Bob, whatever, Warhammer 40K, go. And, go get lunch, and then go get dinner, and then finally say, Bob, I got to go home and go to bed, man. So,
reminds me of a comment on a Red Letter Media video one time. I can't think of his character's name, but he was doing a review for one of the Star Trek movies, and basically his explanation is like, look, he's like, I like my sci-fi slow. He's like, and I don't mean slow like you folks, I mean like really slow. Like, I want to be able to leave, go out, get something to eat, go get my tires balanced and rotated, get gas, come back a couple hours later, and not have missed a damn thing. He's like, so that's why I like Star Trek the motion picture.
So that's Bob's brain.
Yeah,
and
so for what it's worth, I don't share that opinion. Like, I'm a Wrath of Khan guy all day long.
For sure, Wrath of Khan. 100%. And probably Rogue One. Just saying, if it's not Empire Strikes Back.
Of the Disney movies, Rogue One is the one I acknowledge.
For sure, 100%.
Solo is the one I kind of acknowledge on good days.
I like Solo.
Yeah, I thought it was good. It's like similar. It has the same problem Rogue One has. It's like, although I like it, why does it exist?
Right. but there's no Jar Jar Binks, so we went. Just saying, for you Jar Jar Binks lovers out there, I'm not trying to hate on him or nothing. Anyhow, point is, if you're here because you happened upon it and you like Critical Role, or because you did a Critical Role search and came upon it, or whatever, you're here because of Critical Role, then go give the other videos a shot, specifically the D&D ones, obviously. But also the BattleTech ones, or whatever else that we have on there. The Conceptually Speakings, the movie reviews, the whatever it is. Just give us a chance. So part of this, me doing a Critical Role series playlist, is hoping to expand our footprint by hooking people with something that I know is popular, Critical Role, and then having them see what else we do and liking it, and coming back for more. But it's not at all a business type decision, because if it was just a business type decision, then I would just start learning everything I could about BattleTech and dive directly into that, because that is by far our biggest seller.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case at the moment. And if you are coming from the searching for the Critical Role, don't be intimidated by that. This is not going to just simply become a BattleTech channel. Like I mentioned, all the BattleTech videos, we do this stuff because we enjoy it. I don't care if a video gets 6 views. If I want to do another one about it, I'm going to.
Right, 100%. Keeping it 100.
So now, yes, we do focus on what the viewers seem to want, but that's not going to stop us from making other videos that we want to make.
Right, we're not.
That you folks want us to make.
We're not tone deaf to what you all want to see. And right now, you're screaming from the rooftops that it's BattleTech. So there's a whole series of BattleTech stuff coming up, which he just started here the other day, him and Chad, with the starting in on each individual faction. And so that's coming, hard and heavy. But we're going to keep doing the other stuff too, because we enjoy all those other things too. From my perspective, because it's really the only thing I know. I hope to use this platform to learn about the other things. Like, I'm learning along with you with Bobby's videos about BattleTech, and I'm sure that I will play with him and Chad at some point, and I'll probably become totally immersed in that and just have another thing that takes up way too much of my time. But for right now, it's pretty much Dungeons and Dragons, and Critical Role is an offset of that. But by the way, on that point, Critical Role, me finding Critical Role, like I said initially with the con panels, and then the talk show kind of stuff, and all the things about learning about the people that made me want to watch what they do. I'm going to try to hone in on some of the specific things during this series about what it is and why I think it's good for Dungeons and Dragons as opposed to the bad that some people think it is. Spoiler, part of that is because I got back into Dungeons and Dragons because of Critical Role, and I know that you've heard that ad nauseum, that, you know, I found Critical Role I never played before, and now I run a game at my house. Or I hadn't played since the 80s, and I found Critical Role, and now I'm in a game again. And everything in between. But that's how it happened for me. I found Critical Role. About the same time I found D&D Beyond. I started using D&D Beyond to help make characters for some of the stories that I had in my brain, which is what I used to do back in the day even after I quit playing AD&D, because basically all the interest from the people I was playing with faded away. But I still used character sheets and eventually improvised character sheets to help me not come up with characters, but to create the characters and to flesh them out, and then to keep records of that so I could refer to them in note form as I was using those characters in stories. So I started doing that again with the D&D Beyond. I found the Critical Role, came together, I looked for a game, talked to a couple different people, eventually remembered Bob. It was like, that's great, I like Bob, this is going to work out great, and here we are. So yeah, if you're here for that, there's going to be more of that. That being the Critical Role stuff. If you despise Critical Role and what it's done to the Dungeons and Dragons community, then here is ample opportunity for you to let me know that in the comments. And I will happily talk about that, and I will happily have discourse on it through comments on here, however that works.
If I may, as a slight side note, despite my, at the moment, lack of interest, don't take that as I have negative feelings towards the show or anything. And the Matt Mercer effect, we mentioned it way back in one of our DM tips videos. One thing to keep in mind there is that the people that come to the table with that expectation, part of the problem is they don't realize that it's not just Matt Mercer. It's not just the DM. Like, they as the player also have to do their part. So on the one hand, like, it has led certain people to have expectations. Those people also don't realize that they're also being part of the problem by not living up to their part of the expectation. So I think that's more on the player than on Matt Mercer, in my opinion.
Thanks for the spoiler, Bob. That was going to be a whole video, but okay, whatever. We're still going to have a video on that.
Yeah, you can still go on that. But I just wanted to mention that, while there are cautious feelings towards some of these things, like, don't take it as any of the rest of us like, oh, burn the heretic, like that's got to end kind of stuff. No, I look forward to Brad's videos, actually.
For me, it's not even anything weird like that. It just so I didn't even know about Critical Role before I just happened along it. And then, like I said, I didn't watch the actual live streams or even the VODs of the live streams for ages, because the idea of watching somebody else play a game held zero interest to me. It's just like I've never been into Twitch. I've never thought watching somebody play Roblox or Call of Duty or Minecraft or whatever people play on Twitch and other people pay to watch I just thought was just weird. And
not those of you who have asked us to do that, by the way. You are not.
So I understand why he jumped in there, but I didn't finish. I was in the process of saying, but now I realize that it's just another way for people who do this, want to do this, don't want to do this, but like it, but don't have any interest in doing it themselves. It gives them an avenue to experience it themselves.
Yeah, honestly, I feel very similar to Brad. Like, I still don't completely understand the appeal. Like, I honestly don't, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with people that do feel that way, because I used to be perfectly content watching other people play video games, but I also liked to play video games myself, and I think it's coming from the same place where a lot of you are probably not going to get this reference, but people like Joe Bob Briggs, who have had shows on various channels where they'll run like a B, or if I'm going to be totally honest, more like a C or D list movie. And when it cuts back from a commercial, they'll sit there and they'll talk about the movie, they'll have some commentary, some jokes, and it feels like you're part of things. It feels like it's someone there watching the movie with you talking about it, even though clearly they're not. They're on the TV, But it makes you feel like that. It makes you feel like, man, I'm not alone here at 3 a.m. watching this guy in a cowboy hat in front of a trailer. It's obviously a set, probably not even drinking a real beer, But it's funny, and it feels like you're interacting, even though you're really not. And I think it's the same mentality that makes that kind of thing made that kind of thing popular. People like Joe Bob, like Elvira, and and I think this is just basically the new iteration of that. But much like this is the new iteration of that, So, yeah,
so
I think that's a lot to it.
I think so, 100%. I think another part of it is that, like me, people genuinely like the cast, and then through that they fall in love with the characters, and through that they get involved. They have emotional stock in the narrative. So it becomes like, well, back in the 70s, my grandma referred to daytime soap operas as her stories.
Yeah.
Back in the day, those were on NBC. They were The Doctors, Another World, Days of Our Lives. And
Oh, I hate to admit this, but I definitely spent a whole summer watching Days of Our Lives when I was like 13 or 14 because
yeah.
I had nothing better to do.
Well, I spent a lot of time with Grandma, so I
I
watched a
know
lot of
far too much about that show.
Yeah.
And having watched it recently, like a lot of the same people are still on that show.
But now you get the same thing now. You get people that are so invested in Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy, whatever. People fall in love with the characters and the narrative surrounding those characters. That's what's happened with Critical Role. People have fallen in love with the actors, because if you have the opportunity to watch any videos with them when they're just being themselves, I defy you to find any one of those people that aren't likable. Now obviously, everybody's different, and this person might rub you the wrong way a little bit, but they're all seemingly good people who were a group of friends that were playing a home game for a couple years before, randomly, and we'll get into how it happened, they started live streaming it on Geek and Sundry's YouTube channel.
I think that's back when they were actually using Pathfinder, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Because at the start they were using 2nd edition Pathfinder, I think. They switched to D&D at a certain point.
Was that after they started live streaming?
I don't know when.
I don't know.
That's one of those random tidbits, like how I know there was a cast member back in season 1 who's no longer with them.
Orion Okaba. We'll do a video about that too. But yes, he was Tiberius Stormwind or something like that.
Something like
A dragonborn sorcerer, I believe he was. But yeah, eventually Orion was not in the cast anymore, and we'll do a video about why that is, or what the speculation about why that is, the actual whatever statements Critical Role has put out about it, blah blah blah. But yeah, so there was an 8th person originally in the group. Now there's only 7 that are part of the core group, that have gone from campaign to campaign to campaign. Like I said, there have been guests that have been in for one episode to 20 episodes here in this campaign.
So, are there going to be any other topics of any kind you'll be covering, Brad, or you think you'll be focusing on?
Well, just for this playlist, just Critical Role.
Okay.
But I'm happy to do videos that you can put into any playlist that you like. Anything that you want me to talk about by myself, I will. I've always hesitated to do that because I didn't want to do anything that maybe you, or specifically Chad, would have wanted to be a part of and would be upset if they weren't. But moving forward, I'm just going to do my Critical Role thing, and if I have something coming up that's more meta, I'll try to get all 3 of us involved. And if there's any point that Chad wants to be a part of anything in particular, any particular episode, any particular thought, exercise, whatever, then yay. But if not, I'm just going to commence to doing. I'm going to try to do 2 or 3 a week. That they might not all come out like that because we do need to put some videos in the bank as well. But
and I will need to edit them once, or if Brad finds it, and if we can find an editor that'll work on your computer.
Right, theoretically. Although I'm pretty and super cool, so you might not have to edit anything at all. Anyways, why does he keep laughing when I say I'm pretty? Anyways.
Oh, because there's all kinds of little teeny tiny things I edit out of these.
Oh, I'm sure.
I don't follow the advice I saw one guy say, where basically he's like, for 30 seconds of video, you should be cutting 7 seconds, and I'm just like, that's insane, But he's got millions of views and I don't, so what the hell do I know? But I see what he's getting at, that there's just little teeny tiny seconds here and there. But if people are sitting around watching our hour-long videos, I don't think they're going to care about 5 seconds here and there. So
that's how I feel about. So if speed limit's 55, I normally drive 58 or 59,
yeah.
And some people drive 68 or something, And I'm like, if I'm driving an hour and you want me to drive 4 miles an hour faster, that means we're going to get home 4 miles sooner than we would have, which is basically 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So me risking a speeding ticket is not worth that 5 minutes to me.
Yeah.
So you having to go through there and take out 7 seconds out of every 30 is not worth the, yeah. Besides that, we're pretty and people like listening to us ramble, right? Right?
That's the word on the street.
Yeah, so, one video about, so like I said, I'm going to start with, in the older stuff, I'm going to start with episode 1 of the Mighty Nine. And then we'll get a video about whatever the current latest episode in Campaign 3 is about, assuming there was one that week. Then hopefully there will be one that is kind of meta or conceptual or something about the Critical Role. And then we'll look at that and decide if that's something that would be better affected with Chad and or Bobby present in it, and then we can redo it with them included, and if not, we'll roll that one out with just me as well. So hopefully there's at least 3 times a week when I can spend a half an hour doing that. The half an hour of actual filming. Obviously there's prep time that goes into that, but that's stuff that I would do anyway, even if I wasn't doing this, so no big deal.
Prep time. I literally shoot from the hip for half these videos. I just tell Chad, here's what we're filming. He looks at me. Are you ready? No. All right, here we go.
I'm sure you guys couldn't tell that.
Yeah.
It's not like we have a well-refined script and yeah. So this is us.
Yeah, no, as I mentioned in the Battletech video, I have a giant whiteboard that I occasionally put notes on.
We did that earlier today.
Yeah.
So, but and then within that, if there's ever anything that you want me to speak on, or if it's a slow week when there's not a new episode of Critical Role, then I'm happy to jump outside of my my envelope, as it were. I'm not scared.
Well, I have some ideas.
No way.
Yeah.
Every time Bobby says that to me, I say I'm 100% confident that is factually accurate. Because if it's one thing Bobby has, it's ideas.
All right.
So, yay for us, by the way.
Yeah. Alrighty. So, if that's it,
that's it for me.
Thank you, folks, for watching along. Brad, hopefully, speak on behalf of the folks. I know I personally look forward to watching the videos. So, hopefully, they will as well.
Is it because I'm pretty?
It's more for the Critical Role stuff, but
Is that because you get to see me all the time?
But having a pretty host helps. So they tell me.
So if you could let me know whether or not you're watching this because of the Critical Role material or because I'm pretty, then please leave that in the comments. And if it's because I'm pretty.
Alright. So folks, thanks again. If you stumbled into this new, subscribe, because there will be more. Get the notification bell, whatever other hoops YouTube's having you jump through now. But otherwise, hit a like, share it around, keep an eye out.
Comment.
These will be starting up. We'll probably start filming them in the next week or two, and then there's a little bit of lag time because of editing and getting them out there. But they should be showing up in the very near future. So thank you, folks, and we will see you later.